So there's been something that's really been bugging me lately. At least I was thinking about it the past couple days, and it's really been kind of driving me crazy. And I'm not talking about anyone in particular here, but something, really has nothing to do with anything I'm going to talk about on the show. By the way, this is Beyond Reason Radio. I am your voice of reason in a world that is beyond reason. I do the show every Monday and Friday at BeyondReasonRadio.com, the Beyond Reason Radio app, and Facebook Live at 8 p.m. And I want you to listen to the live show. A lot of you listen to the podcast. Great. I love it. Share with your friends. But I want some of you to try to listen to the live show because I want you to comment on what I'm talking about. I want some interaction with the audience. So comment on Facebook. Comment on the app. Comment on the website. Comment to me on Twitter. Just follow me on Twitter at BeyondReasonR. And you can do that during the show, and I'll keep up with your comments, and we'll have a little bit of back and forth. That's what talk radio is all about. But there's been something that has been kind of bugging me lately with people. And this is going to actually affect how I do the show today. I'm just saying. It's going to affect how I do the show today. Because more and more I noticed that we live in an age of, how I say, know-it-alls. Know-it-alls. Everybody's a know-it-all. Okay, and you're like, well, Yaffee, you kind of act like that. You have a talk radio show. Well, I'm not talking about, when you're a pastor preaching to a congregation or a talk radio host talking to an audience or a teacher lecturing or whatever. I'm talking about when you have regular everyday conversations with people, with your friends, with people with your coworkers, and they all seem like you can't have a conversation with them anymore because everybody's a know-it-all. Everybody's smarter than you. Everybody knows better than you. And instead of actually having a conversation with someone, instead of actually trying to learn something from somebody else, it just seems like everybody wants to try to prove that they're smarter than you. That's where a lot of conversations go. Instead of actually talking, conversing, an exchange of ideas, learning from one another, I find so many conversations where people just try to prove they're smarter than me. They don't really listen to what I have to say. They're ready with their opinions. I say it. They ignore what I say, and they give me their opinions, and it's just to prove themselves to other people that they're so intelligent, that they're so smart. And like I said, a lot of people might think I'm that way because I do a show like this. Well, if you've ever listened to me do a show or I have call-ins, you will, know that I'm very good with call-ins. I listen to the callers. But if you're having an everyday conversation with me outside of a radio show, I'm not like that. Believe it or not, I'm not like that. I don't assume that I'm smarter than everybody before I go into a conversation with someone. But so many people in today's world do that. And maybe it's just me because I do this show and I do other shows, and they just want to prove that they're smarter than me. They get some kind of joy out of it. I don't know what that is. But it's just something that's kind of been digging at me a little bit lately. Something that's been bugging me. I see it all the time. And part of it's our social media culture, our internet culture. Everyone wants to prove they're smarter than you. They already have their dug-in opinions, and they have to force it upon you instead of actually having a real conversation, instead of actually learning from one another. It just bugs me. So today, at least for this first segment, I'm going to try to do something a little bit different. Since everybody thinks they're smarter than me, since everybody thinks their opinion is better all the time, since nobody wants to learn from one another or talk with one another, maybe in this first segment, I will not give my opinion. Nope, I just won't give my opinion. Since everybody just thinks and tries to prove that they're smarter than me, fine. You're smarter than me. You feel better now? Is that what you want? Go into this show, instead of listening and engaging in the show, they just want to prove, they want to prove me wrong somehow. They just want to prove they're smarter than me somehow. So that's where we are in our culture, I feel like. So fine. I just won't give my opinion. Is that what you want? Because you know better, right? Okay. We'll see. We'll see how this goes. For the first segment today, I will just read. I will just go over stuff, and I won't give my opinion. And if you have an opinion, fine. Comment on Facebook. Comment on the app. Comment on Twitter. Give me your so much better opinion than mine. This really bugs me. It's just something I've noticed with so many people recently when I try to have conversations with them. Not on the air, not on radio, but just one-on-one, everyday conversations. People don't have a conversation anymore. They want to prove that they're better than you immediately. Believe it or not, I don't have that attitude, because wisdom comes from admitting you don't know everything. Wisdom comes from admitting that one, God knows better than you, and that other people sometimes know better than you, and you can learn something from other people if you allow yourself to do that. So I won't give my opinion. That doesn't mean I can't give somebody else's opinion, though, since I won't give my opinion in this first segment. I'll read something here, because this has been an issue that's very interesting. Oh, I guess saying something is interesting is an opinion. This is going to be tough, I'm telling you. But I want to do it because you're all smarter than me anyway. Here, I found this article from CNN. Here is the headline. Bobby Jindal, governor of Louisiana. How conservatives can win back voters from Trump. How conservatives can win back voters from Trump. Now, I have a lot more stuff to go to. I have some beyond reason stuff from Trump supporters in the next segment. And by the way, I actually have some good news. There's been a lot of depressing news lately, a lot of beyond reason stuff, but I actually have some good news, some positive news for you that I'm going to give you. And of course, I'll end the show with stories so beyond reason, they will leave you flabbergasted. We'll get to that. But Bobby Jindal thought this was interesting because this is a problem with the Republican Party. The Republican Party is split. If Trump wins the nominee, which it looks like he probably will, it's not an opinion, that's just what it looks like. Most people will say that. It gives the Republican Party some problems, because even if Trump doesn't get the nominee, there's a lot of Republicans now that aren't conservatives. Trump is not a conservative. I don't think Trump voters are voting for him because he's conservative. They're voting for him for other reasons. I mean, this is hard. I guess you can say that's an opinion too. I don't know. But it's kind of an issue with the Republican Party. How are we going to win back conservatives in the future? How are we going to rebuild the conservative movement from the ground up and win back Republicans back to conservatism after Trump, after a Trump candidacy or a Trump presidency or whatever? Bobby Jindal, who, if I had an opinion, I would say is one of my favorite conservative governors out there, one of my favorite politicians out there, but I don't have an opinion. No. I'm sure you all say that's dumb. He brought up this point, and I'm just going to tell you what he said about it then, instead of my own opinion. Dustin commented on the chat. He says, I want your opinion. Well, that's good. Apparently you're like the only one. Nobody wants my opinion. But I said I won't give my opinion this show. Well, not the show. I can't do a whole show not doing that, but at least this segment. Here's what Bobby Jindal said. Donald Trump is not a conservative. Well, okay, we all know this. He is not conservative in policy, behavior, or temperament. While many Republican officials see in this observation the secret to derail his path to the nomination, it may actually be one of the reasons for his success. I want you to soak that in for a little bit. The fact that Trump is so successful might be because he's not conservative. What do you think about that? I would give my opinion, but I'm not going to do that this segment. But Bobby Jindal has an opinion. Let's go on what he said here. Reagan Republicanism famously rests on three legs: religious conservatism, national security conservatism, and economic conservatism. On issue after issue, Donald Trump has taken delight in thumbing his nose at Republican orthodoxy. There it is. He says, first, in addition to previously proclaiming himself very pro-choice, Trump has, during the campaign cycle, rejected a basic tenet of many Christians' faith by noting he hasn't needed to ask God for forgiveness. And he goes on and on. I don't want to go over all of why Trump's not a conservative. I've done that plenty on this show. You can go listen to old podcasts and you can find that as well. But he said something here that you might find interesting. I can't give my opinion. You might find interesting. He says, Trump has certainly not contradicted every Republican belief and has felt the need at times to change his positions. But this is what he said. It is true, Obama has epitomized and ushered in the age of fame over achievement. 8 years ago, Obama sold the country a vacuous campaign of hope and change, devoid of substance or experience. And Trump has been brilliant at manipulating the earned media cycle, but this criticism gives his supporters too little credit. Trump has succeeded in part due to his recognition that the country is finished with Obama's liberal policies and prescription of government dependence and redistribution as answers to stagnant growth and low wages. But, and Jindal says this is the painful part. He says, and this is the painful part. Trump has also recognized that the voters do not yet see Republican alternatives of limited government as the cure either. Trump supporters, many of them, Trump has been successful at saying Obama's prescriptions are bad, is what Jindal is saying here. But he hasn't necessarily showed people that conservative principles, limited government principles, are the best option, the best alternative. This is his problem with Trump. Do you agree or disagree? He says it's time to face the facts. As Republicans, we have failed to convince or demonstrate the wisdom of our conservative policies to the voters. And we are thus partially responsible for the rise of Trump. This is I want to give my opinion, but I can't because you all tell me your opinion on it. You all barely smarter than me. He says, oh, sure, Republicans have won elections these last several years by being the anti-Obama, much as Obama won 8 years ago by being the anti-Bush, and have made the same mistake of misinterpreting these victories as a mandate for our ideology. But Trump realized that many voters, including Republicans, are still wary of foreign entanglements after years spent in Iraq and are sympathetic to populist calls for nation building to begin at home. He realized many voters are angry about expanding means-tested entitlements like Obamacare and food stamps, especially for able-bodied adults, but at the same time are fiercely protective of universal programs like Medicare and Social Security, supported in part by their payroll contributions. What he's saying there is Trump has convinced people that, welfare, food stamps isn't necessarily good for the country, but he hasn't convinced them of conservatism. Conservatism, believing in limited government, meaning too much Social Security, too much Medicare, too many other government entitlements are a big problem as well. But Trump doesn't want to touch those. He says, meanwhile, middle-class voters can be forgiven for thinking that perhaps a government fighting for them, defending their jobs from foreign workers abroad, or coming here illegally and defending their lives and values from radical Islamic terrorists makes more sense than a government taking from them. But he goes on here. I want to skip through. I don't want to read the whole thing. He says, Trump is not the first nor will be the last Republican candidate to embrace populist elements to soften conservatives' apparent rough edges. He's talked about Mike Huckabee, Rick Santorum, George W. Bush called it compassionate conservatism. I've talked about that on this show. He says, President Obama certainly bears much responsibility for the rise of Trump, especially with his rhetoric and policies dividing us by class, race, gender, age, and geography. But, and this is the big but here, Trump is not opposed to big government. He is simply opposed to the other folks running the government. Notice that Trump never talks about really cutting government. He talks about how he's going to make America great again. He talks about how, he'll make better deals. He talks about the politicians are stupid. He's smart, but he doesn't talk about constitutional conservatism. He says middle-class workers along the backbone of our aspirational society and are not simply a special interest group who needs to be met with set aside and quotas, tax breaks, earmarks, and other special treatment from the government. That's what he said. The challenge for conservatives is to explain anew why our principles are universal and relevant to the modern age, to translate our vision of limited government and increased freedom and opportunity into concrete policies that benefit middle-class workers. This is a problem I've had with a lot of conservative politicians. They don't have vision for the future. They're good at attacking the other side. Trump is great at attacking the other side, but he doesn't have vision for the future. Now, like I said, people think I'm stupid. Ann Coulter tweeted out during Trump's foreign policy speech that it was the best foreign policy speech since Washington's farewell address. That's what Ann Coulter believes. I don't know how you reason with someone like that. I mean, just think Reagan's evil empire speech on the Soviet Union. I would definitely put that higher. But he makes a good... I said it again. It's hard not to give my opinion. I'm just saying. I'm trying to do it this whole segment. I can't seem to do it. He says, Jindal says, I am for reducing the size and expanse of government and do not agree with the mainstream media that the Republican Party needs to abandon its conservative beliefs to be relevant or to win. See why I liked this guy so much and wanted him to do well? However, I believe the conservative movement must be more than austerity for the sake of austerity. We must be more than accountants, revenue collectors, and technocrats that make the Democrats' larger government run better through incremental change. We must go in a fundamentally different direction and show how our beliefs and resulting policies result in the type of economic growth that benefits all Americans and, again, make the case why a larger government is not the answer to our challenges. I could not have said it better myself. The real struggle for my generation, for the Yaffee generation, for the conservative movement now is going to be to try to convince people that the conservative movement of limited government and limited ideas in an age when a lot of people like socialism, try to make the case with concrete solutions why limited government works. That's going to be hard to do because people have made that case, especially in this campaign season, are not winning. But someone who just wants to run the government the same, wants a big government just with different people in power, is winning. He makes the point that Republicans themselves are really responsible for the rise of Trump, that we're facing the facts that too many in the Republican Party and in what we thought was the conservative movement are not actually conservative. And that's an issue we are going to have to face and combat if the conservative movement is going to thrive again in this country and save the country, which I believe it's the only thing that can. Jindal says the Founding Fathers recognized the power of the freedom for entrepreneurs to create something from nothing, for parents to raise their children according to their values, and for individual Americans to make their own decisions and live their lives as they see fit. The hour is late for the vision of America and our conservative ideals, but not too late. I hope he's right. I hope it's not too late. But I don't know. This whole campaign season has totally changed my feeling on politics, changed my view on the country, on the future. And we, in my opinion, I couldn't last a whole segment without giving my opinion. Sorry, people. In my opinion, we are in a lot of trouble. And I'm realizing we are in a lot more trouble than I thought. Because I always believed that the majority of the Republican Party was at least conservative. And now I'm finding out that that's not even the case. And when I get into the next segment, when I play for you Trump supporters at a Cruz rally protesting Ted Cruz and what they were doing, my first thoughts were, we are in a lot of trouble. And it's going to take us building it from the ground up. But, and this is another thing I've been talking about lately, and this is why I've been talking about it. If you put your hope in a presidential candidate, if you put your hope even in a party, a political party, or in politics at all, if you put your ultimate hope in any of those things, you're foolish. You know, in 2008, when people were saying Obama was hope, I wrote a blog on Facebook, and I said he's not our real hope. No politicians are real hope. No politician can do everything they say they do. No politician can give you real salvation. And that is why more and more recently I've been talking about giving your life to the real Savior, God, and His Son, Christ Jesus. And that's why I've been talking about that more, because I've realized, and I knew this from the beginning, but I've realized I need to talk about this more, because that is where the true hope is. And when you put your hope in that, it puts a lot of this beyond reason stuff in perspective in politics. And once you put your real hope in that, then you will stick to your principles, you will stick to your beliefs, and then we can begin to rebuild the conservative movement from the ground up. That is what I believe. Dustin says, okay, fine. My opinion is that Trump is not conservative. He is a big government progressive. Well, that's his opinion. See, I didn't say it. All you Ann Coulter Trump fans out there, Dustin said it, not me. All right, when we get back, I'm going to play you some very beyond reason audio from a Ted Cruz talking to Trump supporters that happened today. You were listening to, oh, by the way, we'll end the show with stories so beyond reason they will leave you flabbergasted. I am your host, Michael Yaffee, and we will be right back.
You know what's beyond reason? Yaffee is now on YouTube. Go to YouTube now and just search Beyond Reason Radio.
There are so many clothing fads out there that are just beyond reason. But here at Beyond Reason Radio, we want to let you in on a new patriotic fad that will never fade. That fad stands for Freedom All Day. Freedom All Day is the latest apparel brand for the true patriot who is not afraid to show it. Their mission is to give people an opportunity to show patriotism all year and to do it while looking good. Check out their latest stuff, including their newest t-shirts at freedomallDayapparel.com. At freedomallDayapparel.com, you can find all kinds of different cool-looking t-shirts, and they are all made in America. Go to freedomallDayapparel.com and be part of the fad that never fades.
If you like Beyond Reason Radio, well, make sure to show it by liking the Facebook page at facebook.com/Beyond Reason Radio.
Welcome back. This is Beyond Reason Radio. We talk faith, culture, and politics every Monday and Friday at 8 p.m. I want to get your comments. You can chat on the app, you can chat on the website, or you can chat with me on Facebook, or you can chat with me on Twitter at Beyond Reason R. Do you guys ever have experience with people? I talked about this in the first segment. Do you ever experience with people where you're trying to have a conversation with them and they don't talk with you, they don't converse with you, they don't exchange ideas with you, they talk at you? That no matter what you say, they talk at you? That they're just waiting to get their opinion. They're just waiting to prove how smart they are. They're just waiting to prove that they're smarter than you, no matter what you say? There's so many know-it-alls in our culture. I've just noticed that. And I think it's a cultural thing. I think it's growing. And people say, oh, you're a know-it-all, Mike. Trust me, when I'm talking with people one-on-one, or if you see me on a show when I fill in for the morning show and I take calls, I don't act like a know-it-all. I really don't. I really try to open my mind with other people because I can learn something from somebody else. But so many times people talk at me and it just annoys me. It's like, okay, you want me to just say you're smarter than me? You want me to just say, hey, look, yeah, you're so brilliant and I'm stupid? It's just something I've noticed. Anyway, thank you all for joining. I'm your host, Michael Yaffee, the voice of reason in a world that is beyond reason. So, something that is definitely beyond reason. Ted Cruz. He was at a rally that he did in Indiana, and there were some Trump protesters outside the rally that were confronting him, protesting him, Ted Cruz. You know, it's just crazy. Protest the other side. Why are you protesting Ted Cruz? We're supposed to be on the same side here. But this kind of stuff is what we usually say Democrats do. But now Republicans are doing it. This kind of goes with what I said in the first segment. But listen to this. I want you to listen to Ted Cruz, how he responds to them, and listen to the supporters. Because I might have to vote for Trump. Believe it or not, I might have to vote for Trump. Because if it's Trump versus Hillary, I might have to vote for Trump. I get that. But Trump supporters like this make it very, very difficult for me to do that. They really, really do. Because not logical. Ted Cruz here is being reasoned and logical, and listen to how they respond.
I appreciate your coming out. I appreciate your coming out and standing up. And I think this entire process, I think anyone that wants to be president owes it to the people of this state to come in front of you and ask for your support. And I'm running to be everyone's president, those who vote for me, even those
We
who
don't want you.
Well, you're entitled to your view, sir, and I will respect it. In fact, I will
Do the
protect.
math.
I will protect
You have
your
cases
rights.
to drop out. It's your turn.
Well,
Take your own words.
now I'm curious, sir.
Time to drop out.
When
sir.
Donald doesn't get to 1237, you're going to call him
Donald,
in to drop out?
So this guy is just, Ted Cruz is trying to have a conversation with the guy. Hey, look, I respect your opinion. I'm here to give you my take. It's time for you to drop out, sir. You said cases drop out. You should drop out. I mean, they're talk about talking at you. They're talking at him. It's not reasonable. How am I supposed to back? This is what Trump supporters are like so much to me. It's frustrating because I might have to vote for the guy, and you're making it very, very difficult. But I hear this a lot. We were supposed to be better than this. Goes on here.
He's definitely going to get 1237. No, he's going to get more than 1237.
Let me ask you something, sir. What do you like about Donald?
Everything.
Give me one.
Everything.
Give me one. Can you pick any?
Donald Trump sucks too. The wall.
Okay, the wall.
That's the main thing.
All right.
Immigration.
All right, hold on.
So he asked the supporter, Ted Cruz asked the supporter, what do you like about Donald Trump? Everything. Everything. This is everything? I just love him. He's great. Everything. I'm trying to have a conversation with you. What specifically do you like about Donald Trump? He's going to make America great again. Really? This is your whole take here. What do you like about Donald Trump? Everything. He's going to build the wall. He's going to build the wall. Immigration. Make America great again. This is the kind of responses that he's getting. And look at Ted Cruz. He's being reasonable. He's keeping his cool. He's having a conversation with them. And watch how they respond to Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz keeps his cool the whole time. And the Trump responders, they make it very, very difficult for me to like him.
Hold on a second. Now, do you know on the wall that Donald told the New York Times editorial that he's not going to
all the candidates.
Well,
Line Ted.
Well, sir,
Take down ISIS. She'll take down the
civilized people don't just scream and yell. Not yelling. Do you know that Donald...
So he tells them about a New York Times editorial where Trump's basically saying he might compromise on the wall that happened. And you hear how they respond? Lying Ted! Lying Ted! Oh, there he goes. He's going to take care of ISIS. He's going to kill him. Lying Ted! Really? He's trying to have a conversation with you, dude. And you're just being stupid. You're being irrational. Because that's what his whole campaign season has been. Irrational. And you have a guy... I mean, wouldn't you rather have that guy be your president? I'm just saying, a guy who's reasonable, rational, logical? No. Nope. But this is how we respond. And you think this is only to Donald Trump. This is to the Democrat Party. This is to a lot of other things in politics, in our culture. This is how we respond. We don't know how to talk to each other anymore. We just yell at each other. Lying Ted, he's having a conversation with you, dude. Be respectful. He's being respectful to you. He didn't have to come out there and talk to you. But he did.
The New York Times reported the whole thing publicly. That's a total lie made up by Donald Trump. Let me ask you.
Career politicians have killed America.
You are the problem. Let me ask you.
You are the problem, politician. You are the problem.
Can I ask you something? Can I ask you something? Out of all of the candidates, name one who had $1 million judgment against him for hiring him.
Name one.
Donald Trump is the only one. Okay, so you like rich people who buy politicians.
Where's your Goldman Sachs jacket at? We know your wife works there.
Actually, I was supported by, and am supported by.
Well, I mean, listen to that. And that goes on for like 6 minutes. Lying Ted. He's going to take care of ISIS. Where's your Goldman Sachs jacket, Ted? Poor Ted, he's like going out there trying to have a reasonable conversation, telling him facts, and they're just yelling at him, screaming at him, saying irrational stuff. You're the problem. You're the problem. You're a politician, so you're the problem. You're the problem. Ted Cruz is like, well, Trump's been buying politicians for years. Oh, what about Goldman Sachs? They just say the words. They don't even know anything about Goldman Sachs, and they just say the words Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs, Goldman Sachs. That means you're bad because your wife worked there. Like any of them wouldn't have taken that job. But it's just, how am I so... This is our politics today. And, maybe it's been our politics forever in a certain extent, but I just feel like that's the typical Trump supporter. When I deal with, that's what they do. He's going to kick out the Muslims and build the wall. He's going to make America great again. You're a politician. You're the problem, Mr. Politician. That's what he was saying. And he's like, well, what about my solutions? What about my ideas? And he gives them later, and this goes on for like 7 minutes. And I give Cruz credit. He was very patient. And, I've criticized Cruz on this show many times, but it's just, that's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about the discourse that is going on around a candidate based on some idea of him. It's not about him. It's not about real solutions. It's I just want change. I just want change. To what? Change to what? Have you thought about that? I don't think so. And the sad thing is people like that, I mean, some of them will get with Trump all the way, but when Trump actually gets in, if he does, and he's not going to do everything he said. He's not going to be able to do it. Even if he starts a tariff war with China, if he somehow gets rid of imports from China, you automatically think that those companies are just going to start building here and just give you all those jobs back? The factory jobs are just going to come back? It's just not going to happen. It's just, why not support a candidate who has vision for the future? And I get it. Times are tough. Trust me. I get it. Trust me. I experience it. Times are tough. But we're talking about the country here. And we're talking about truth. And how do you react to that? I just don't know. All right. In the next segment, I'm actually going to give you some good news, some not beyond reason news, but some good news that I think is pretty cool. And I'll end the show with stories so beyond reason they will leave you flabbergasted. This is Beyond Reason Radio here at BeyondReasonRadio.com and streaming live on the Beyond Reason Radio app. Stay tuned.
You want to listen to Beyond Reason Radio live on your smartphone? Download the Beyond Reason Radio app now. Available in the Google Play or Apple App Stores.
There are so many clothing fads out there that are just beyond reason. But here at Beyond Reason Radio, we want to let you in on a new patriotic fad that will never fade. That fad stands for Freedom All Day. Freedom All Day is the latest apparel brand for the true patriot who is not afraid to show it. Their mission is to give people an opportunity to show patriotism all year and to do it while looking good. Check out their latest stuff, including their newest t-shirts at freedomallDayapparel.com. At freedomallDayapparel.com, you can find all kinds of different cool-looking t-shirts, and they are all made in America. Go to freedomallDayapparel.com and be part of the fad that never fades.
If you heart Beyond Reason Radio, listen to the Beyond Reason Radio podcast on iHeartRadio. Just download the iHeartRadio app and search Beyond Reason Radio.
Welcome back, everyone. We are in another segment, another edition of Beyond Reason Radio, where I am the voice of reason in a world that is beyond reason. I am the conscience in your ear. That's right, in your earbud, in your earphones, telling you the difference between right and wrong of the stories out there that are beyond reason. And we talked a lot. Wow, got tongue-tied there for a second. We talked a lot about what the Trump campaign has. How do we rebuild the conservative movement from the ground up? And what did you think of those Trump supporters that were just yelling at Cruz? He's being reasonable, and they're just yelling at him, being mean to him. What did you think about that? He reacted very well. But, I mean, that makes it very hard for me to support Trump when I see stuff like that. And I might have to vote for him if he's the nominee. So I want to get your take as well if you want to comment on the app, on Facebook, anywhere else. And we'll talk about that. But I promised you all that I would have some good news. I would have some positive things to talk about. I don't want to be all negative because there are some good things, especially in this country. We still live in the greatest country in the world, in my opinion. And I want to give you some good news. And what gave me this idea is I found an editorial from Investors Business Daily, which got me thinking. The headline said, "Innovation isn't dead. It isn't even sleeping." He says, "We often hear that America's best days are behind it, that the innovation that has bolstered our standard of living has come to an end. But," take a deep breath, "it doesn't have to be so." Which is interesting. The editorial points out here something that's I did not know, but an interesting fact here. The U.S. Patent Commissioner, Charles Duell, in 1899 said this: "Everything useful can be invented already. That can be invented already has been invented. Everything useful that can be invented already has been invented." That was in 1899. So there you go. But he talks about how we live, and I agree with this. This is part of the rise of Trump, because he says we're going to make America great again because we think we don't do anything great anymore. And we buy into this idea, we buy into this lie that America's best days are behind us. We don't innovate anymore. We don't make things anymore. Even though manufacturing is actually rising again in this country, it's exploding. But he had a list here of things that have happened really just in the last decade or so, of things that have been invented in America that have sparked revolutions in technology, revolutions in culture, revolutions in government. I mean, think about this. Here it is. The iPhone. Steve Jobs shipped the first one in June 2007. Less than a decade ago. Facebook became a publicity-used social media utility in September 2006, just a decade ago. Look how that's almost changed the world. Twitter launched in 2006 as well. Instagram launched in 2010. I posted a picture on Instagram. You can follow me on Instagram too, by the way. I posted a picture of my cat on Instagram earlier. I know you all love my cat, especially after the last show. When I'm prepping the show, my cat usually sits right next to me on the floor. So I took a picture of him. So you can check that out on Instagram or on my Facebook or whatever. Uber was founded in 2009. Look how that's changed a lot. iPad, Apple's tablet, was announced in January 2010. He says, the editorial here says as well, "Nor will that innovation be the last. Already new goods, services, and medicines are being created from technologies that are little understood by the public yet. Nanotechnology, robotics, genetic manipulation, 3D printing are still in their infancy. They await only the opportunity to grow. The next 10 years could make even greater change." I don't know if I should read this last paragraph, though, because I said this is good news, and it is good news. It's positive news. It's trying to show you that not everything's bad, that America is still great in a lot of ways, but could be greater. I guess I have to read it now. So what it says. "Unfortunately, when it comes to innovation, not all policies are created equal. Lower, flatter taxes, especially on investments and corporations, fewer regulations, better education and training, smaller, more fiscally responsible government, a greater appreciation for entrepreneurs and what they do. These are the real engines of our future prosperity, not the pervasive gloom, the current pervasive gloom." So I liked that, though, because it gave some hope for the future. It was positive. There are good things out there. We don't hear this enough, especially in presidential campaigns, and there is a lot of negative going on. I mean, I could not do this show. It's called Beyond Reason because there are so much beyond reason stuff going on. But as I've told you before, the main reason I like doing this show is because I get to be a voice of reason through it all, and that also means being positive sometimes when the world is so negative, when the world attacks what you believe, when the world is just hammering down on you. There is hope. It's just not in politicians. Another story here. This is again another good uplifting story in a lot of ways. You'll like this. I found this on Fox News. I had no idea this was happening, but it's pretty interesting. It says the spark of life, science and the Bible meet again. The spark of life. What is that? Well, apparently, in Northwestern University, researchers did something that was very interesting. Apparently, they collected immature human eggs from willing female patients at the Fertility Center of Illinois. Eggs that would have been discarded anyway. The researchers used special chemicals to mimic the moments of conception. The law forbidding them to use they couldn't use actual sperm, but they used chemicals to mimic the moment of conception. When the sperm meets the egg. Well, what happens at that moment? The decisive moment was accompanied by a small burst of zinc atoms. The eruptions appeared as flashes of light because of fluorescing agents used by the scientists. According to science, at precisely a moment of conception known as recombination and decoupling, an incomprehensible outburst of light accompanied the creation of hydrogen and helium, the first atoms of the embryonic cosmos. To this day, the dim afterglow of that seminal light, the so-called cosmic microwave background, is visible to certain kinds of powerful telescopes. Now, that was talking about the Big Bang, that there was light at the beginning. Let there be light. There was light that we can still measure today. Microwave radiation in the atmosphere can be measured today to prove the Big Bang. According to inflation and Big Bang theories, it didn't end there. Hydrogen atoms eventually began to fuse the way they do in a hydrogen bomb. And Viola, once again, in a flash of light, the first stars came into being. But in this article talks about how that goes along with a lot of what the Bible says. According to Genesis 1:3, it says, "Let there be light." In 1 John 1:5, light is identified with the Creator himself. God is light. In him there is no darkness at all. But I liked the idea that the moment of conception, that very moment when the sperm meets the egg, there is a flash of light, the spark of life. You can literally see it. How beautiful that is. How beautiful life is. And how much we really don't know about how it all works. And unfortunately today we don't look at that part of life as highly as we should. But it's just, how do you not see God in that? How do you not see a creator in that? I don't know. But I just thought that was amazing and that was uplifting. So 2 uplifting stories that I did here on Beyond Reason Radio in a row. By the way, if you missed any of the show, you can catch the podcast of it as well. We talked about a lot of things. I know people are in and out of the show all the time. And coming up in just a moment, the best segment of the show. Stories so beyond reason, they will leave you and have left me flabbergasted. This is Beyond Reason Radio here, beyondreasonradio.com, and the Beyond Reason Radio app.
You can now listen to the voice of the millennial generation on Podbean. Download the app or go to beyondreasonradio.podbean.com.
There are so many clothing fads out there that are just beyond reason. But here at Beyond Reason Radio, we want to let you in on a new patriotic fad that will never fade. That fad stands for Freedom All Day. Freedom All Day is the latest apparel brand for the true patriot who is not afraid to show it. Their mission is to give people an opportunity to show patriotism all year and to do it while looking good. Check out their latest stuff, including their newest t-shirts at freedomallDayapparel.com. At freedomallDayapparel.com, you can find all kinds of different cool-looking t-shirts, and they are all made in America. Go to freedomallDayapparel.com and be part of the fad that never fades.
It would be beyond reason not to listen to Yaffee on your TuneIn Radio app. Download the app today and search Beyond Reason Radio.
Beyond Reason Radio with your host, yours truly, Michael Yaffee, the voice of reason in a world that is beyond reason. I thank you all for joining me today. It is time for what is some of yours out there, favorite segment of the show, stories so beyond reason, they will leave you flabbergasted. Yes. Prepare your flabber to be gasted, as they say. By the way, I got a comment on Facebook because I was flipping through the Bible because I'm going to read a different verse when I close today. Yes, David, it is a big Bible. Was that your only comment? I mean, yes, it's a big Bible. It's one of those it's one of those study Bibles because, I study the Bible every now and then. Just saying. You'll like the verse that I end the show with today, by the way. But first, of course, we have those stories that will leave you flabbergasted. And this one you will like. And by the way, I just wanted to say, if we do this show, I should probably introduce the show more. We have some new viewers out there. This is Beyond Reason Radio. We do the show live every Monday and Friday at 8 p.m. You can listen on Facebook Live, which a lot of people are, or you can listen on the Beyond Reason Radio app. Just go to Google Play or the Apple App Store, search Beyond Reason Radio, and then install. That's simple. You can listen to the show live on the app, and you can listen to the podcast. If you miss any of the show, you can listen to the podcast on the app as well. I mean, I don't think I could have made it any simpler for you. Or you can just go to beyondreasonradio.com and listen there. So, a story here from Fox News. Checking. David, I asked for, this is what I get for, I asked for comments. I'm asking for more people to chat, interact with the show. And this is what, I talk about Trump and how we need to rebuild the conservative movement and all this stuff. But this is the comments I get. All right. David Lee is asking to see if the camera added 10 pounds to the Bible. Are you talking about me? By the way, I've almost lost 10 pounds. I've started working out. I've lost about 9 pounds. I know nobody really gives a care, but maybe it does. Yes, here's the Bible, everybody. It's a big Bible. Yes. The camera, it's actually 20 pounds, and now it's 30 pounds in the camera, okay? There you go. This segment's going to leave people flabbergasted. Okay, this story from Fox News. And it's actually, you'll just have to hear it, because it's just, I don't know whether to hate it or like it. Honestly, I don't know whether to hate the idea or love the idea. This is the story.
Well, we turn now to a new book sparking a lot of reaction. Its author saying all women should take maternity leave, even if they don't have kids. 38-year-old Megan Foy got the idea after finding herself burned out from work and jealous of coworkers who took time off to spend with their kids, saying she decided she needed a break too. Telling the New York Post, quote, "The more I thought about it, the more I came to believe in the value of a me-ternity leave, which is, to me, a sabbatical-like break that allows women and, to a lesser degree, men, to shift their focus to the part of their lives that doesn't revolve around their jobs." The reaction from so many women pouring in, swift and furious. From, quote, "So help me God if Merriam-Webster adds the word me-ternity to the dictionary," to "Where do tabloids find these idiots?" And this one, quote, "I want all the perks of maternity leave without having any kids. Yes, I'd like to be a general without military service."
Right.
So, what do you all think of that? There's an author out there who wrote a book, and then it was a fiction book, but then started to like the idea. Her idea was that women who don't have kids should take a sort of maternity leave, or what she calls a me-ternity leave. I love how we create these words. This is what happens in a 24-hour news cycle. A me-ternity leave, that was my same question, by the way. A me-ternity leave where the girls they're stressed out from their jobs. They just need to take a time off to find themselves. And they will do that on their leave, even if they don't have kids. A me-ternity leave. And Corey asked, what about the guys? That was my question. How come the girls get a me-ternity leave? This is why I said I don't know if I should hate this story or love this story. I mean, you know what? I'm very stressed. Yeah, I don't have kids or anything. Mothers, yes, I get that popping out babies is hard and everything. But according to this lady, we all need a maternity leave. Yes, mothers, that means that your job really isn't as hard as what we have to deal with as well. So what we need is a maternity leave. Now, do the mothers get Do the mothers get a maternity leave and a maternity leave? Is there like a double thing going on there? And what I want to know is what Corey asked. Corey on Facebook asked, what about the guys? Do the guys get a maternity leave or a maternity leave or a guy-ternity leave? Is that what we should call it? Because, it's not just girls who, I need to find myself and I need a maternity leave and I should be paid for it. Those companies, they're rich. They're rich. They should just pay me for not working for a few months or whatever. Because I need the time. Maternity leave. What do you all think about that? I mean, at first I was like, this is dumb. This is more reason why our culture is falling into the dumper. This is why you want to talk about why we don't make things anymore, apparently. This doesn't help. I wonder how long it will take for Bernie Sanders to campaign on this issue. That everyone, all of you, and college students too, you should get a maternity leave. You should get a maternity leave. I mean, what campaign would lose on that issue? No, Corey commented again. It's not vacation. Vacation's like a week. That's separate. We have to get vacation. We have to get paid sick time off, and we have to get a maternity leave. And if you're a mother, you get a maternity leave as well. So you're probably asking, when are we going to work? I don't know. I mean, work in the communist future of America. Work. Come on. What are we? You're silly. So, I mean, a lot of people out there should like this, right? A maternity leave? No. See, I told you this story. I told you this story would leave you flabbergasted. I mean, what? I want to know someone to tell me. I mean, what if I take a maternity leave from doing this show? I need a break from doing this show, I guess. So I'd have to take a maternity leave. I couldn't do that. That would definitely be beyond reason. And speaking of beyond reason, the show's over, and I'm going to get out my huge Bible that someone was commenting on, this big Bible, because I'm going to read a verse. And I've been talking about this recently. It's from actually a different verse than I have been reading. It's from Matthew chapter 7, verse 24. Therefore, everyone who hears the words of mine and puts them into practice, this is Jesus that's talking, is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against that house, yet it did not fall, because it had its foundation on the rock. But everyone who hears these words of mine and does not put them into practice is like a foolish man who built his house on sand. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against that house, and it fell with a great crash. Don't forget, as smart as I am, or as smart as those people who think they're smarter than me are, the true wise person realizes that the fear of God is what gives their wisdom. I'll be back on Friday. Hope you all enjoyed the show. Make sure to go to Facebook, facebook.com/Beyond Reason Radio. I'm going to post a video on Wednesday talking about an important issue. I want you guys to check that out, and I'll check you guys out next time.